In this episode, we're going to talk about Victoria, 40-year-old incorporated dentist who, like many professionals, has done a lot of the great moves that we've talked about here on the podcast. She's got all the right structures in place. She's been doing all the right optimizing moves. She's built up her corporate savings. She's got high retained earnings that she's making appropriate decisions with. She holds a high early cash value whole life policy as her optimizing in her wealth reservoir. She's maxing out those personal RSPs and tax-free savings account, even owns a pre-construction condo. But despite all of that, Victoria is still a little stuck. And this is a lot of our clients get stuck like this. And she's wondering, should I invest in another condo, or could I go the private lending route? Should I buy another dental practice, or should I just keep working? Or maybe I've done enough. Maybe I have enough for retirement, or maybe I'm missing something. And what is going to unfold here is this powerful conversations we had with her that reveals a truth that many of us and many high-income professionals like you are facing, is that how do we know what we really want to do? And that's what we're going to unpack here. So Kyle, let's get into some of the details. Let's go to it.
Yeah, you bring this up. This conversation was a great one, and we dug deep here because it's a great example where we have an incorporated business owner doing what we call, quote unquote, all the right things, right? Is being diversified in the buckets, has been saving a significant amount. You'll also note as well, like we even said, like on the personal side, doing a great job maxing out RSPs, got money into tax-free savings accounts. Some might go, wait a second, like how does that make any sense? Aren't you going to pay a lot of tax to get more money out of the corporation? Well, guess what? She has a spouse that earns a T4 income, and it's fairly significant. So there's some advantages that sort of come into play when you're in a position where you have less control with one spouse's income and more control with the other spouse's income, so that you can kind of move these levers and optimize. And the reality is that there's a lot of amazing things going on. Yet, however, the big question is like, what do I do next? Am I on the right track? And what should I do as the next step? Because we have some of these tools going on. We have real estate going on, which is great. Primary residence owned, rental property owned, fantastic. We've got corporate owned life insurance, which is a financial foundation, a nice cash reservoir, as you mentioned, inside the corporate structure, not leveraged as of yet.
She's got options.
Also a lot of money in the markets, right? Through registered accounts and also corporate account as well. And continuing to fund, I believe the policy is getting funded around $70,000 per year of retained earnings into the policy. Now, Of course, it's a flexible policy, which is great, meaning doesn't have to go all the way up to 70, can actually go much less, 25 to 30-ish or so on that policy. But with those extra retained earnings, she's putting them there. Contributing $30,000 to $40,000 typically each year in the corporate investment account.
I like that bucket.
That is great as well. And still, based on the income that she's been pulling personally, is still maximizing those RSPs. And again, using spousal income in order to help on the tax-free savings side of things. So the big question a lot of people might be wondering is like, what gives here? Like, aren't you doing all the things? And it really, what we kind of recognized along the way is that, she's not exactly clear on what it is that she wants down the road, So there's a lot of things on the radar. And really, yeah, like sometimes we get into where we're optimizing, and we can always optimize further. Some people do this almost like as a hobby. I would consider myself one of those people. I'm always curious, always trying. But the hard part is you'll never figure out whether you're on track or not if you're not sure what the destination is supposed to look like. So for a lot of people listening, you might be like, oh my gosh, I only wish that I had been doing what this individual has been doing. For others, you're going, I'm doing that as well, and I feel confident that I'm going to reach my goal. And then there's probably a big chunk that are somewhere in between going like, yeah, like, is that enough? Like, you might be leaning in right now going like, is that going to be enough? And the challenge really comes down to is like, what does that target look like and sound like? And that's sort of where we ran into the biggest hurdle with this particular individual.
Yeah. And we've often talked about, this is this our recommendation here. This episode, the lessons we're trying to give here is solely living in stage 1 of our financial and wealth planning blueprint and process, which is, envisioning the target. While we've talked a lot about like, what is the number target? What is the amount that we really need to live on? Like, there's that part. Like, we've talked about that on different episodes, which she needs to know. Like, she does need to know, like, what is this? So if she is relying on 4% rule or pulling, a pension or making herself a pension, she can figure out what that looks like. However, I want to like talk about like, what is like the lifestyle and the work? Like, what does your day-to-day look like? Like, having a snapshot of what it is is acceptable for you and ideal for you is also extremely important, because some of these decisions will be made that way. Like, for example, like, should I buy that business? Like, I could buy another business, but does that mean I'm now adding more time to my work life and therefore I've got another job and I'm now working longer to do that? And if that's part of my plan, then great. Like, you've got that part figured out, like your time spent, because it's not a passive source. Like, you're operating a business and you're going to, if you want to use that as like an investment, sure, but you now have a job or now have work to do. And if you're like going, but that's what I like to do. Like, I envision myself till I'm 80 years old, 75 years old, just being active all the time in the businesses, then that sounds like a great decision for you. But that's not a great decision if you're like, no, I'm going to be the person sitting on the beach earning passive income where I don't have to do anything. So then it's like, okay, so maybe the portfolio route is the better move for you to try to like get, structure and optimize these pieces to get more over here and get these investments rolling over here so that you can safely go, I don't have to be relied on anywhere, and anybody. It's like, I'm okay with doing nothing with my time that's active. Or you might be like, but actually the way I envision that part of my life is I'm going to be tinkering. I'm going to be buying. I'm going to be selling. I'm going to be trying to like follow the macro environments. I'm going to be trying to position my portfolio. I'm going to be building that asset as my full-time job when I get there.
Right.
And that's okay. That's what I really want to do. It's like, okay, then that's great. Basically, all pathways are right. You just have to decide what the trade-offs are.
Right.
And a lot of times I think when we're having conversations with business owners, they haven't clarified what that is. Like, is that the way you see your life? Because that can help decide on what asset to buy now, or what asset class to send your money in. Because you can optimize all day long. Mm-hmm. But you could optimize on the wrong things for you.
Right.
And I think that's, like I was saying, the number part is easy for us to calculate. It's, you have to get clear on what do you want your actual day-to-day to really look like.
And this is exactly that, what I would argue is not only for Victoria here in this conversation, but also for many of the people in our community that do reach out to us for calls. And this is kind of what we help you to shape, because along the way, sometimes we get nervous to sort of state what that will look like. Like, it's almost like we say, like, if we say it now, like there's no way out of it later.
Right.
When in reality, it's more or less, it's going to be a moving target, but at least you should have a target in mind of what that could look like. And of course you can modify as you go. But at the end of the day, if you're going, listen, this is an incorporated dentist who owns a dental practice, and it's like, you really have to do a little bit of soul searching before you say, should I open up another dental office? She knows she can do it successfully. She's done it. Do you enjoy it? Right. And if the answer is yes, seems like a fairly logical next step in terms of investing. But if you're saying, I actually don't like it, or I would actually only like it for maybe 10 years and then maybe I'll sell it. Like, these are the things we have to get clear on, because then there was a discussion where it was like, should I buy more real estate, maybe in Florida? And then it was like, maybe it might be for me to use sometimes, but then also use it as an investment. Like, there's a lot of things that we could do. And the beautiful part and the hard part is that all of them could be correct for you, but they could all lead to very different places. And we have to be really clear. We meet some people that are like, I'm thinking of one client in particular, and this client, John, you might be able to guess who this person is, but this person was like,
guessing game.
They literally put money in and they dollar cost average into their policy. And then when the market goes down by more than 20%, they borrow against the policy, dump it into the market, and they just shut their eyes. Like they don't actually care about what happens to the market. And they just go, and that's great. I could not do that. Like you know me, John, like that's not me. Is it right for them? It's perfect for them, right? Because they don't have any of that emotion. They don't have any of that, concern, stress, worry. And it's a great move for them. They don't invest in real estate like we do quite a bit. They don't want to open up another business, right? They want to be more passive, and neither one is right or wrong. And ironically, I think, in my opinion, the thing that is a better fit for you to help you get to your goal is probably going to lead to the greatest overall return over the longest period of time as well. Whereas I think what holds us back is you go, which one's going to be the better investment? She then mentioned private lending. Should I do just indexing into the market? Like all of these things are going to lead to different potential results. But here's the thing. If I index into the market and then I pull it all out when the market's down 20%, that's going to be a really bad move, right? And the same is true if I want to invest into a new business, but I'm not willing to put the time and effort and energy into it in order to make it successful. So I have to get really clear here. And then once we know that, we also have to figure out about how much, what do I want my lifestyle to look like? And I like to add this keyword as a bare minimum. I don't want your lofty goal. I want you to think about what would make me feel comfortable and confident in retirement? And that for a lot of people is usually what a pension does, right? They go, the pension's going to be my baseline. That used to be you and I, John, when we were working in the education sector. Now we use our corporate wealth reservoir, our whole life policies to represent that portion that doesn't limit me from all of the other upside we can have by investing the difference, investing the rest, or even borrowing against that policy and putting it into investments, so that in my mind, I know I've checked off my base case and there's still a huge opportunity for upside. That allows us to think a whole lot more clearly on what we want our financial freedom years to actually look like and sound like, and therefore which paths should we take in order to get some of that extra upside that we're looking at in terms of risk on assets.
Yeah, that's the benefit of knowing the number, in your base case scenario of knowing what is if I'm using 4% rule as my pension, what is that number that I need to accumulate to? And therefore, if you hit that number, or if you're on track to hit that number with your current investing strategies, then knowing that when that should occur, it's it gives you the freedom to start crafting what else do I when I now can do these other things, what do I want my lifestyle to look like? Because what happens is knowing that number is there, this is what pensioners do, right? I know that's well, have you thought about what you're going to do with your time as a pensioner? Screw that, I'm going to sit my ass. This is what our teachers used to tell us, the teachers that we work with, right? Is they say it doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to do nothing for 6 months, and then I'll figure it out then, because I have this floor to build off of. In a way, that's what your number helps you do. It's your FU money, right? So it's I've got this floor, and now I can start going, what do I want to do with my life? What do I want that to look like, knowing that I've hit the floor, I've built the floor, because now it doesn't matter. So now it means because I could just quit everything and I could do whatever I want at that point. She doesn't have that yet. She hasn't done that part to create that, so that it doesn't matter what these moves look like. Now it's now the moves become personal choices on where you want to spend your time, because you've already built your floor. And what you were saying before reminded me of just thinking about the different types of risk, when you're trying to decide that, let's say you have your floor. Now you're trying to decide, where do I want to be all investments wise? Do I want to, keep operating this business? It's you've got the market risk that you have to worry about. You've got effort risk, and you've got planning risk. It's all of these things include these three aspects. Planning, obviously market risk is your return risk. It's yep, okay, I could go down that route and I get this type of return, or I could have risk this return. But I think we don't often think about the other two. We don't think about what's the planning risk here? I could spend all day analyzing this thing. We could spend all day trying to figure out what we really want to do, but it's there is a time limit there. There's a risk to your time going, I've been doing analysis paralysis for a long time, and I still don't come up with anything, and that's risk.
Right.
You wasted, or not wasted, but I mean, like, you've burned hours trying to figure out a good move.
Said all day. Like, typically it's not an all day event. It's like months, and sometimes for many years, right? That they're not actually acting because they're just trying to figure out what the perfect play is. But you're never going to get there because you're not actually clear what that goal is. And it's so interesting because when you look at the statistics around those people who do have pensions, so again, right away, pensions do not produce a great return on investment. You've got typically $1 coming in from the employee and $1 coming in from the employer. All right. Government, whatever it is. So it feels like the return is decent, but it's actually not great. It's basically being managed much like insurance manages, an annuity or how they deal with high early cash value life insurance. Very, very similar, which is why we sort of started there for our foundational asset. And the reality is the vast majority of pensioners wouldn't give up that certainty. And this is the toughest part. When you don't have the pension told you what the base case is going to be, and you accept it. Here, you get to choose the base. And nobody wants to choose a base that's like low, because they want to, they want the upside. Like, nobody wants to give up the upside. If there's you're telling me I could do better than that? Like, I'm going to go for the roof here. The problem with doing that, by not setting that base, is that it makes it very difficult for you to make moves with confidence. And I'm not talking to those people who are there sitting there going, listen, all of my money is going straight into 100% equity ETFs because they're all in. Or they're like, I met a gentleman recently who's like 90% of his assets are in Bitcoin because he believes. And I'm like, honestly, I believe in Bitcoin too, but my God, you are my hero. Like, how cool is that? And I'm hopeful that it all works out great. I could not do that.
That's hard.
But people that are really confident with the strategy typically aren't listening to a podcast like this. They're like, no, this is how it's going to be. I'm clear and I know exactly what I'm going to do. And it's fantastic. So if you're sitting there thinking about this and going like, I feel like I'm doing the things, but I still don't know what that looks like or sounds like that's where the planning really comes into play, right? And oftentimes it really just comes to trying to divide things up a little bit. And we talk again, that base case is like, let's get that down. And that we want to make sure that happens for sure. Like, there's like no way that we're not going to have that. And then the reality is that typically that's going to leave you a significant amount of your portfolio available, or your net worth available, to put into other growth assets, which is only going to make things better. Meaning, there's lots of upside there for you, and there's lots of opportunity. And then later you'll have that challenge of, now what? What do I want to do with these things? Do I want to build up my financial floor, which is what a lot of people do as they get closer to that financial freedom age? They start to recognize, listen, if I just start pulling from my floor, and my floor can last the rest of my life at this amount, that I'm going to be in really good shape. It makes the rest like so much more easy to stomach when markets downturn, when an investment maybe goes bad, because that can happen too. You want to go down the private lending path. Guess what? That can completely eliminate your financial floor if you get too heavily invested into a risky asset where a deal could go bad, right? So these pieces, I think, are really clear. But before we can get there, we have to zoom out a little bit, try our best to try to figure out like, what does that look like on a base case? And then maybe there's like a more, we'll call it, a bit of like a moonshot goal that you have that you want to work towards. And then we try to craft the plan and to ensure that, hey, based on what you're doing right now, could I get there just by doing what I'm doing without doing any more active work in this investment business that I'm in? Or can I literally just continue along and feel pretty confident? If I get inspired to open a new office, great. Or if I get inspired to buy a rental property, awesome. But I don't have to.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that we pointed out with her is that she, one of that wonder, that worry is like, maybe I already have a floor and I just don't know it. And that was one of the issues. It's like, you don't know what your numbers look like yet. Like you don't know exactly. It's not even like I knowing what your floor is. She, in the case, didn't know what the rate of returns on her investments looked like. She didn't know if she was involved, the choices she made and say those registered accounts were the right choices. So she had to do some digging and some homework there, because it's possible that projecting with her already existing assets, she did have her floor made. And I think my secret sauce here is that from the discussions specifically is that without that goal, right? I think 2 goals here is like without those 2 goals, like everything feels uncertain. So the one goal is, what is the floor number? Like, let's get a number. Like, let's know what my like pension looks like. Like, can I safely withdraw this much every year for the rest of my life? And let's play around with that. We help our clients every day with those types of numbers. But the second is, what is the lifestyle goal? Like, what do I want that time to look like? If I am retiring at 50, what do I want 50 to 80 to look like? Like, what am I going to be doing? Like, how do I see myself in that time? Because that can help shape what you do now and what choices you make now. And we can help make those choices with you when we establish that. And and I think that's a really important, that's my secret sauce. You got to know those 2 things so that you can use your wealth reservoir correctly, and you can strategize and optimize in stage 3, and you can plan for legacy in stage 4. Like, we got to start with stage 1, and a lot of times you do it in like middle order. You're like, let me tinker, and let me grab these tools. Yeah. But I haven't really clarified yet. So those are my 2 secret sauces here today.
I love it. Yeah. And I would say, my big takeaway is also understanding what is happening and what does that look like for you right now. So an example was I had asked, what kind of returns are you getting from your RRSP, for example? Has an advisor that's managing that? Again, you'll hear us on the podcast. Like, we're actually like, a lot of people are like, no, don't ever pay a management fee, or no, never, this or that. I think that there's a fit for everyone. Everyone has a fit. Some people are good to do it themselves. Other people, it's like, it can be a train wreck if they do it themselves and they make big mistakes. Trust me, that 1% MER or whatever it is that you're looking to save is going to look like a great deal, right? If they can hold you from yourself from doing something silly. So I just want to know, like, how is that going, And she didn't know, like, she didn't know what that was like, but yet we're talking about private lending. We're talking about all of these other things. And I'm going, like, maybe that advisor is like able to get you like returns that are similar or better than private lending. Like, maybe that's happening and you just aren't aware of it. Right. And if they are, that to me seems a whole lot safer than trying to get into private lending and maybe, having to relearn all about this asset class and making sure we're comfortable. So again, know where you're at, understand what continuing to do that process. John, you'll have to fill me in. I can't remember. Is it Dan Heath who said your current system is perfectly designed to get you the results you're getting? That's right. So what results are you getting right now? Like, we got to know what is happening right now in order to see what we can anticipate later if we just keep going like that. And like, maybe, just maybe, we are on track to well exceed what we are looking for, or maybe we're way behind. And the only way we're going to know it is getting clear on what that looks like and getting clear on what it is we're doing now and projecting that out.
If you want to get your grade on your 4 stages of a healthy financial plan, you can head on over to CanadianWealthSecrets.com/pathways. Fill out our quick assessment there, and you'll get a customized report that gives you a grade per stage and some next steps to strengthen each of those stages. And if you are looking for specific recommendations, specific discussions with us and our team, head on over to CanadianWealthSecrets.com/discovery, and we'll hop on a call and walk through those 4 stages with you and help think about tinkering on those structures and optimizing a plan for you. So that was CanadianWealthSecrets.com/discovery.
All right, Canadian Wealth Secret Seekers, we will see you in the next episode. And just as a reminder, this is not investment advice. It's for entertainment purposes only. This content should not be considered investment, financial, accounting, tax, legal, or any other type of advice. And I myself, Kyle Pierce, am a licensed life and accident and sickness insurance agent with Canadian Wealth Secrets Incorporated.